So you want to be a master? Do you have the skills to be number one? Pokémon Champions is now available on the Nintendo Switch and mobile devices, and it shall serve as the battle platform for future official Pokémon video game tournaments. And with the shift to a new Pokémon game comes a shift in some battle mechanics. The functionality of some items and attacks are now different, and the overall metagame has seen some major changes as a result. Many mechanics have been adjusted, and today, we're going to address the most notable changes within Pokémon Champions so that you may be alert and knowledgeable on your rise to Master Ball rank and beyond. The most obvious change in Pokémon Champions is the selection of available Pokémon. As of now, the roster consists of 187 Pokémon. More are certainly on the way, as evident by the fact that Palmot is on the battle button, yet isn't usable in-game. And there are several Mega Evolutions that debuted in Pokémon Legends EA that have yet to make their appearance in Pokémon Champions. At the moment, according to the game's rule set and regulations, every Pokémon that is available in Champions' roster may be used. As the rule sets and regulations are updated, more Pokémon are sure to be added to the roster as well. For the time being, this limited roster will give rise to unique Pokémon and strategies. Every Pokémon that is usable in Champions can currently be obtained and transferred from either Pokémon Legends Arceus, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, or Pokémon Legends EA, with the exception of Cast Form, who can most easily be obtained in Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, or Pokémon Go. Just as well, all available Pokémon are fully evolved with the exception of Pikachu. This means that previous unevolved competitive threats like Porygon 2, Clefairy, and Dusclops may not be used. Additionally, if a Pokémon has an alternate form in the vein of an Alolan form, a Hisuian form, or a Paldean form, then they are allowed. And any available Pokémon that has a Mega Evolution is also valid, with the exception of Raichu, whose Mega Stones will presumably arrive at a later date once other Pokémon with Mega Evolutions are added. Many common items used in competitive battling are currently unavailable in Pokémon Champions. The Eviolite has been removed, as the only current Pokémon where it would have any use is Pikachu, and while the Choice Scarf is available, the Choice Band and Choice Specs are oddly absent. Other popular items such as the Life Orb, the Rocky Helmet, the Heavy Duty Boots, and Black Sludge are also not yet in the game. Pokémon who have a signature hold item, such as Farfetch'd Sleek or the Soul Dew for Latios and Latias, are also unavailable as the Pokémon themselves aren't in the game. Some of these items may be added later, as Pikachu has access to its novel Light Ball, and the wristband on the character notably has a Z-Crystal symbol. While this does mean that you don't have to worry about strategies along the lines of Toxic Orb Poison Heal Gliscor or Assault Vest Gooey Goodra, it does mean that players will have to vary up their hold items until more are added. In some ways, this means that the metagame is functionally similar to the item selection available in Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So, it may be worth considering looking into which Pokémon were viable in those games and incorporating similar elements in your team building for Pokémon Champions. While many Pokémon have access to an abundance of additional moves, some Pokémon can no longer use the moves that they've known for years. The two biggest examples at the moment are Incineroar's lack of access to Knock Off, a very prominent Dark-type move that removes the opponent's hold item, and Archaludon's Body Press, a move that uses the Pokémon's defense stat to calculate its damage. There are some other examples, such as some Pokémon no longer having access to Dual Wing Beat or Taunt, and then there are some other miscellaneous neutral examples, such as Meganium losing access to Work Up and Pelipper losing access to Brave Bird. Still, for the most part, a Pokémon's moveset is relatively the same or expanded compared to what each one had in the past. Aegislash now learns Poltergeist, Absol now learns Trailblaze, and Weavile relearns Psycho Cut, just to name a few. It is not yet known if moveset adjustments will occur in upcoming updates. A few moves now have changes that may shape the metagame. The move Protect now has a total PP amount of 8, which is half of what it was in Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Also, the move Fake Out, the popular priority attack that can only be used on a Pokémon's first turn on the field, can't even be selected anymore after it's used once. Although the move is mostly practically useless after the first turn anyway, this means that players can't willingly select it to outsmart an upcoming Sucker Punch, nor can they select it to try and PP stall an ongoing match. In short, once Fake Out is used, the players only effectively have 3 moves until the Pokémon is switched out. The secondary effects of some moves, such as Moonblast's ability to lower the opponent's special attack and Dire Claw's chance of inflicting a status condition, have been reduced. On the contrary, some moves have also been buffed, as is Decidueye's Spirit Shackle, and Serena's Drop Kick has been buffed from 70 base power to 85. And, for all you Weirdeer fans out there, Weirdeer's signature Psy Shield Bash has been buffed from 70 base power all the way up to 90. Also, Snap Trap is a Steel-type move now, which means that Galarian Stunfisk can finally get same-type attack bonus on it. So yeah, have fun. Status conditions can be a make-or-break tactic for trainers, and inflicting them can often be the key to victory. It seems the Pokémon Company has taken note of this, and has opted to nerf sleep, paralysis, and freeze. Pokémon that have been put to sleep will wake up by the second turn at most, unless the Pokémon has inflicted itself with sleep using rest, in which case it will wake up by the third turn. As for paralysis, it will still slow down the foe's speed, effectively cutting any Pokémon's speed in half, but its effect of having a 25% chance of being fully restricted from attacking for a turn now drops down to 12.5%. This means that the effect will no longer cause nearly as many hindrances to opponents who are trying to make a move, yet the chance for a fully paralyzed turn will still linger in the balance each time they attempt to attack. Regarding the less common freeze status condition, foes can only be frozen for a maximum of 3 turns total. Players still have a 50% chance of thawing out each turn, and moves such as Scald or Flare Blitz will immediately remove the status condition. Essentially, players no longer have to worry about having bad luck and being frozen and completely immobilized in a battle. It'll just be 1 turn if they're lucky, and 3 turns if they're not. Longtime competitive Pokemon fans may know that a Pokemon's stats are created based on their individual values, or IVs, and their effort values, or EVs. Formerly, a Pokemon's IVs were assigned at its capture, or if you hatched an egg, from birth. The only modification that exists to adjust IVs came in the form of an in-game item called a bottle cap, which allowed players to upgrade a Pokemon's IVs to their maximum potential. In Pokemon Champions, this is no longer the case. All Pokemon are already given perfect IVs. In most cases, this would be ideal anyway, and would remove the need for repeatedly catching Pokemon and hatching eggs in order to get a perfect one. However, this change does cause a few mind games to cease to exist. Sometimes, players would want lower IVs and speed so that if they were to set up a Trick Room, then they'd be guaranteed to gain the most benefit from the move's effects. Now, with all Pokemon IVs already preset, the only customizable option will be a Pokemon's EVs. Historically, Pokemon's EVs have always been modifiable and often involved giving a Pokemon vitamins and berries, or in some cases, playing some sort of minigame in order to best optimize their stats. In Pokemon Champions, a Pokemon's EVs are completely customizable with intuitive sliders. Simply raise or lower a Pokemon's stats as much as you see fit. It's certainly a more streamlined version of changing a Pokemon's stats, and at least it's more cost efficient than buying bulks of vitamins and berries. Pokemon Champions is sure to be full of players that are each competing to climb the ranks, and it shall be interesting to see which strategies develop as a result of the current availability of Pokemon and items. The game is sure to receive updates in the future that will add more Pokemon, more Mega Evolutions, and more items, and when those updates arrive, there are bound to be balance adjustments and further changes to the metagame as well. So until then, be sure to subscribe to IGN to keep up to date with the latest announcements and strategies for all things Pokemon Champions.